What's up guys, Manime here, and a quick note before we begin the video. Hyper and I made a Discord server where we talk and watch anime together, so if you guys want to join us, I'll have a link in the description. Personally, Redline by Studio Madhouse is my all-time favorite anime movie. Not just because I feel like it uses the medium to its fullest potential, but also because it just excites every childhood dream I had while growing up. Today, I want to break down the very first sequence of the movie, and to show how it's one of the strongest first acts I've ever seen in a movie. Before we begin, let me explain what a sequence is. A sequence is a series of scenes that form a distinct narrative unit, which is usually connected either by unity of location or unity of time. A sequence in a movie can be considered an act, but it's not always one. Redline's first sequence can be broken down into 7 separate scenes. Once you do this, it's incredibly easy to see the pattern they are building. All the scenes that are outlined in blue are dialogue-focused scenes, while all the scenes outlined in red are exciting and visually focused scenes. Studio Madhouse switches from heavy dialogue scenes to action scenes and then back to dialogue scenes. This is to help each scene in the sequence complement each other. The dialogue scenes build up drama and tension for the race, while the action scenes turn that drama into action, suspense, and eventually consequences. So let's go through each scene and show how they build tension and suspense, then release it. The first scene stands as a strong sort of introduction of the world we are being thrown into, showing characters from all kinds of species and planets to establish that this world is meant to be a sort of melting pot. It's a sport that brings people together, but that doesn't exactly mean it's a clean sport. The scene also accomplishes another job. It primes the audience by teaching us how the rest of the sequence will go. It's mostly done with a kid and father playfully finding a place to take a picture, but just for a second, we cut to a loud scene of action like an engine running or one of the race cars, only to instantly cut back to the father-son duo. This is teaching us that the sequence is built with juxtaposition in mind, or the process of two things being seen or placed close together with contrasting effect. The use of juxtaposition begins to build suspense in the scene, which is finally released when the cars pass them and the father misses the photo. This leads us into the second scene. Now this one is kind of a mix of exposition and action. This is done to sort of ramp us up to the first action scene without fully throwing us in yet. The announcer cleverly gives us exposition by talking about each of the racers, leading us to Sweet JP, who is introduced to us as the underdog of the race. He sneers at this comment, turns off the radio, and then pops a cap of nitro, leading us to our first full action scene. After about a minute and a half of racing, JP shows that he is much more skilled than he originally led on to be, which leads to our next scene, which happens to be the first scene away from the race. A mob figure is sitting talking to someone who appears to know JP. Here is the first time the stakes are risen further up than just being a race. We learn that apparently the race is fixed, and the scene ends with a match cut showing JP's friend holding something in his hand and a bomb that is attached to the inside of JP's car. So by the fourth scene in the sequence, we've established the world, characters, protagonists, what the stakes are in this race, connected 2 separate scenes, then raise the stakes even further. This will be a common back and forth between the scenes. Frisbee and the mob talk and raise tension, then we switch to an action scene where the suspense is raised even further. These two feelings complement each other, very similar to the juxtaposition of the quiet yet scary scenes with the mob versus the loud and exciting scenes of the race. This pattern continues on with the longest scene in the entire sequence, lasting a total of 2 minutes and 6 seconds. This scene is here to really excite you and build up suspense, and even give us a little bit of closure as JP and Sanashi end up being the only two who make it out of the explosion unscathed. This scene is once again juxtaposed against another tension-building scene with the mob. Once again, the stakes are raised even more. We find out that if JP doesn't lose, he won't only be in trouble with the mafia, he will also be in trouble with the law, which leads us to our final scene. The final scene is very similar to the first scene. The scene finally combines all the suspension and tension built from the previous scenes, and then releases it. They start off with it being loud and exciting, then juxtaposing it with a shot of the checkered flag, silently falling down. Once again complementing the chaotic race with the fact that it's all been fixed from the beginning. They do this a few more times in the scene, and finally we get our long-awaited catharsis. Frisbee sets off the bomb, JP's tire blows out, and he crashes in a spectacular fashion, losing the race. This sequence is incredible. Studio Madhouse was able to have every other scene be building suspense, while the others built tension, and have the 2 bumper scenes of the sequence juxtapose the 2 together. This ends up leading to a spectacular ending worthy of all the previous buildup. It's interesting because this entire sequence is a metaphor for the sport itself. Although at first glance it appears that it's crazy, random, and no one can control what's going on, in truth the mafia has taken control of it while keeping the appearance that everything is still random. This movie is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I think this is one of my favorite examples as of why. There are many holes in the plot and weird things that just don't end up making any sense, but the movie itself is incredibly enjoyable and pushes the medium in ways that most studios are afraid to try. Do you guys know any movies that have excellent sequences or scenes similar to this? If so, let me know down in the comments. If you guys like this kind of content, please consider supporting me on Patreon. I upload an anime-related video once a week. Make sure you guys share, like, comment, and subscribe. This is Manime Matt. Make sure you guys stay, man. Go watch that goddamn anime!